Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of I Am Christina DiArcangelo. And with me, I have a legend. I call him Jack Minster, but his given name is John James Minster. Just like JFK, he goes by Jack. Welcome, Jack.
Only for you, Christina, and those closest to me. Same with President Kennedy. He went same route. You know, Jackie Onassis called him Jack. His brother called him Jack. But when have you ever heard of anyone calling him Jack, right?
No one. JFK or John Kennedy. That's what he went
Mr.
by.
President. Yeah. You can call me Mr. President.
Well, I am so excited to have you on. We have been friends and colleagues since I was a real baby, since 2005, when I first moved out to the wild, wild West Coast in San Francisco. And I started doing sourcing and procurement. And we met you and your team through one of the companies that you support. I won't say who it is because, some people get a little testy with mentioning company names, but people will figure out who they are if they who you are, if they Google you. Yeah. But you've known me a long, long time. So I wanted to have you on because I want to talk about some of the stuff we've done together, but also I want to talk about your book.
Yes. Okay. Well, when we started out, I can remember the first instance, the first meeting. There were other people in the room, some of my colleagues, but mostly your colleagues, and you stormed in there like a tsunami. Just there was this presence. It was like all the air got sucked out of the room when you walked in. No one could help. It was like, the black holes in space. No one could help getting sucked into your orbit. And that was my first impression of you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you were here to talk, fine point dollars on a spreadsheet. I'm scared. I left my Lucky Charms and my crucifix out in the rental car.
And I was so young then, really young. I was in my early 30s, there have been a lot of changes since then to now.
Well, yeah. And I was so glad when you moved back. I mean, you're from the East Coast, Philadelphia area. And I know, because I am too, that it's in your blood. It in many ways shapes us and defines us. Whereas the greater SFO area where you were living is so diametrically different.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't keep tabs on you because you were, 6-hour flight away.
Yeah.
Remember when I brought you
the hoagies?
Philadelphia is known for its cheesesteak sandwiches and hoagies. Some call them Zeps. Yeah. Yep. And I had to figure out a way to get those to you on a 6-hour flight, and they contain pork products and onions, and I needed to keep them cold. There was some dry ice involved, but still they thawed out, and the whole plane stunk. People, I could see people, I'm looking around, I smell it. I'm looking around, people are, I love
that.
Oh, yeah.
But see, that's a true testament of our friendship, right? Like, here you are, and you brought it for my whole team. It wasn't just me. That's right. And my team was all Californians, San Francisco kids and stuff that work for me. So they never really had a real hoagie. I mean, they pretend to have hoagies out there. I love San Francisco for its culinary excellence, but they don't have hoagies. They don't have, some places now are having tasty cakes, but it's very hard to get tasty cakes out there as well. So this gave the team the experience of Philly love. And so that was so awesome. Like I still talk about, I told Steph actually about this when we were flying. I think it was from Cleveland to Boston on Monday, because I saw DSG was, I'm sorry, I said the company. DSG was going to be at a conference. I guess it doesn't matter. We're not going to talk about DSG, but they were at the conference that I spoke at, and I got to meet in person one of your colleagues who I just think the world of. So all these years have gone on, and he got to meet my son, who obviously, Christian, since he's been born.
Yeah, my gosh, I watched him grow up.
Yeah. And my
I love
dad,
him.
you knew my dad. Yeah, he loves you. And even my dad, you got to spend time with my pop, which was just, it made me happy that he got to meet a lot of my industry friends who are like family before he passed.
There's no doubt where you get it from. I mean, that when that guy walks into a room, everybody looks, that's just how it was with him. I found him to be a exceedingly charismatic guy, a presence that he just commands a room. You don't want to tear yourself away. It's an X factor, and people either have it or they don't. And you see certain politicians campaigning, and the impression that the general viewer gets is that's a boring person, or whatever you're thinking, like, wow, but when a celebrity type personality walks into a room, it's animal magnetism. You can call it whatever you want, but I call it the X factor, and you either have it or you don't. He had it. Take that to infinity, multiply that by forever, and you still will barely have a glimpse of Mr. DiArcangelo's presence.
Oh, thank you for that. I really appreciate that, because, there's been times that it's been difficult in my life, and I know that I could call you and, and you'll give me that pep talk of, listen, DiArc, you remember who you are. You remember whose daughter you are. You remember where you've come from, how far you've come. You keep getting up. You just keep doing that. That's what you're supposed to do. And, said it in your own ways, but I've appreciated that over the years, because, trying to navigate this stuff sometimes by myself, when I always had him I could call just to bounce ideas off of, if I'm going down a crazy path, or am I right on the on the pathway. I appreciated that. I appreciate it still. You still do it for me.
Yeah, well, you inspire me as well, because I don't know anyone quite like you, and I mean that in only the most positive way. You're like unflappable. I know what you deal with what you do for your work, and no way. You've heard me say it many times. No way could I spend an hour in your job. What you deal with. Just the navigating from C-suite down to these colleagues that are supposed to be at the same level as you, that are just sniping away and creating drama, and yet you're able to navigate all of that and still keep a professional and positive aura in all your communications, written and face meetings, things like this, Zoom. You're always a consummate pro. So I learn from you as well, because sometimes I get pissed off. We all do.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't let it, you focus it. I can tell when you're mad, but you channel it correctly, and you spare people's feelings. You don't take it out on people. You take it out on the situation that's making everyone frustrated, which is that's a gift.
Thank you. Because I had a stressful situation on Monday where we brought up a new site that's really important to us in one of the trials I'm running. And there's a lot of scrutiny on this trial. So you know which one I'm talking about. I just don't want to say it right now, because I don't want anybody to figure out who I'm talking about.
I know.
I'm not talking about anybody. I'm just trying to explain exactly what you're saying. So we had a situation where we had to retrain and seriously deep dive retrain for 8 hours. Honestly, my teams actually, two of my companies are involved. Well, all three of them are, but two of my teams came out to work with these guys. I came in from my flight, and then I started working with them. And I was obviously frustrated, right? Because they were saying that I was supposed to do work that they're supposed to do, that's clear, their job, not my job, kind of thing, and kind of wacky stuff. And so I said, I think we're going to start the buddy system. You're going to have a buddy from my sides. All of my teams will come, and you will have designated buddies for designated things. Okay. When it comes to clinical, I'm your buddy. Okay. CD is your buddy. When it comes to tech now, your buddy is Tiff, or it's Vinoid, or Latia. They're your buddies. Okay. They will help you. They're here to help. We are a service provider. We're here to help you. Once you get this down, it'll be so much better. But I was really frustrated because I've got a lot riding on my back right now with this trial. There's a lot of scrutiny. It's very high level. And I love my biotech that I support. We've been friends and colleagues for 4.5, almost 5 years now. They trust me, but they expect me to deliver. So
that's interesting. I never heard the buddy system, communication plan.
Yeah. Because I just wrote I just wrote an article about it for CEO World magazine that'll get published in August, most likely, about creating a buddy system in your organization, because it empowers the person who's the buddy to the person who needs help, right? Because they are known then for excellence, right? Because how could they be a buddy if they didn't know something, right? It would be the other way around. They would be getting buddied, you know?
Yeah, it's funny. I won't say who it is, but you know him. And you love him.
Yes.
And he is now a software engineer with Amazon. And they have something very similar, mentorship. It's not buddy system, but it's a mentorship. So you're paired with someone. And yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, but yet that's been a lot of maturity, right, over the years. So I could quickly go, okay, we're going to do the buddy system here, because I do the buddy system in my companies. So for me, it was like, well, they need help. I know how to do this because I do this internally for my company. Why not deploy the buddy system externally and help them? Because I can't be everywhere. You know this. I can't be there all the time for them. They're waking. I can't, because I've got other jobs and other responsibilities during the day that I have to tend to. If a patient calls from Affinity Patient Advocacy, that's number one priority, right? Then it comes the studies, then comes the tech side, and all the rest goes down, right? So I have to be able to be pivoting constantly. So that's why the buddy system to me was like, yes, we're going to do the buddy system because it helps me. It makes my team feel valuable, because they are valuable. And then the receiving of the buddy system is learning something from the subject matter experts. Who better to learn from?
Oh, that's absolutely true. So that's brilliant. And yeah, of course, everyone in corporate world tends to say it's not my job. They try to push it off onto someone else. So it sounds like you were suffering that yourself. It was your to do.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. No, I was like, okay, let me explain my role. Yeah. And, so I did. I go, I think there's been a misunderstanding. This is my role. This is your role. This is so-and-so's role. This is and let's just go through this again. Are we all clear now that that's it? That we're all on the same page. Oh, yes, we understand now. Okay, great. Perfect. I'm happy to come back and revisit things, but I've got to see learning from it. I can't have the same conversation now 7 times when we've already had it 4. Now we're done. Write it down on a piece of paper, make some notes, do whatever you need to do, get a pigeon. I don't care what you do, but let's try to remember what we just talked about.
Get a pigeon. Carrier pigeon. Yeah,
that's what I meant, to carry your message back and forth.
Smoke signals, get a blanket and a little campfire. No, it's this is what leadership is, right? It's well, I've heard the saying, business would be great if it weren't for the people, right? And there's truth to that. All these different personalities. One person thinks the other person's weird, how they do things. Well, guess what? Memo. Get the memo. We're all weird. Mm-hmm. Every single one of us.
Yep.
We have to learn how to work together to achieve a common goal.
Right. And if we can just focus on things that are the same with with these people who you think are weird, right?
Right.
There's something about them. There's something about every single person that you meet that makes you the same with them.
Yep.
That was the whole reason why I started this podcast, was to demonstrate, okay, I'm this executive running all these companies, doing all these things, single mom, all this stuff. But what I really want to show people, and what I try to do in every one of my shows, is to show people we are the same with every guest that comes on. There's always a component that makes us the same. There may be several, actually, with some of my guests. There may be two, but that doesn't matter. It's to demonstrate to people we are the same. Stop looking at people with these crazy glasses on. Take those off, those whirligig glasses you're wearing, and focus on what you see before you, because I bet you'll find something that makes you the same with them.
Right. Empathy. Try to empathize with everyone. I do. I pray for my enemies.
Yes. Yes.
Find the light.
Forgiveness, always forgiving people. And I've been talking a lot lately about head and heart, which is not what, corporate America normally talks about, but it's something that I really sink my teeth into, because if we use our head and heart for some of these decisions we're making in business, do you know how much nicer we would be if we used our heart? Because we've been taught not to.
Right. Exactly. No, it's I understand. Yeah, my greatest boss relationship is with a guy who is a former Marine sergeant, U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Marine sergeant. So you can imagine he runs a business like a platoon facing the enemy, but which is good. But he also has a huge heart, and I've seen him do incredible things for people. Has nothing at all to do
no
with
return
business.
Mm-hmm.
He's using the business to do great things for people, not expecting accolades. He doesn't care who knows about it. It's definitely led to my success. The boss's attitude.
Yeah,
The CEO
absolutely.
and founder. I've learned so much from that guy.
I have. I mean, I've been blessed since I've known you. I started working with him because some of these deals were big deals that we were working on, which required his attention because they were big, like multi-year deals that we were negotiating, with a very tough CEO, God rest his soul now, that I worked under literally. I made it through 4 years of it. You know what? I'll tell you, and that's why I wore Army colors today, actually, because I felt like I was in a war all the time.
Yeah. First time we met.
Yeah. He was upset about something. I get called up to the tower.
I remember it, and you look like you walked. It was World War I, and there's that no man's land, and trench, and you walked into my trench like you'd just been shelled, mustard gassed.
Yeah, it's true.
Shot at.
Because he would text you at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. He worked until then, and then would schedule meetings. Do you remember those freaking procurement meetings we used to have to get? I used to have to, even though you were an FSP, a functional service provider, I still had to procure and show and remind him of the previous negotiations we had. I don't know how you could forget it, because I didn't forget it. Trust me, I was having to do it with you guys and everyone that was functionally sourced at that time. It was very stressful. Board meeting's supposed to happen at noon, the procurement, they schedule it at noon, and then you'd wait. Do you remember? Hours to be summoned. Sometimes we would not be requested to be in the boardroom until 8 p.m. You could not leave your office. You had to stay there. You could not go anywhere because you were on call like an ER doc, which and we weren't making ER doc money, let me tell you that.
Well, it shaped you. Mm-hmm. It made you a far more effective professional, as we can all say of our nasty experiences.
Mm-hmm. That's
you know?
absolutely what happened. And I am thankful. We've talked about it multiple times. Listen, I learned a lot from that. I know you learned a lot from that experience too, of working with people like that, where you've got
Yeah.
to figure out where they're trying, what they want, what they need, what are they holding back, what's most important to them, what are they thinking. It's not easy when you're negotiating some of these
Yeah.
multi-million-dollar deals for
Right.
multiple studies for pipelines that are huge. It's not
Yeah.
easy. So this guy,
Win-win. Yeah.
he taught us a lot over the years, you know,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm thankful, honestly, thankful. At the time I wasn't, because I was like, God, this is crazy. But I'm thankful now. You know, I've been thankful for years when I launched my first CRO. If it wasn't for him, who knows where I'd be, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. I don't I wouldn't have any do-overs even if it were possible, you know. It's how I got here.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever species I am, it was a product of all these experiences over the decades.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Let's talk about your book now, because we have a little bit of time left. And I really want to talk about your book, because you and I could
sure.
talk about this stuff, which, you know, is really helping people understand about building your toolbox, being empathetic, listening is key, right? And creating a buddy system when you feel like somebody needs help, instead of making them feel inferior. You could create a buddy system. You could do this in your own home. You know, if you're a mom or a dad at home and you've got kids and you have an older kid that's responsible and you need a little help with the little kid, create the buddy system in your own house. Listen, I do it.
Right. No, I never heard it called that, but yeah, it's a phenomenal dot to connect, you know. And I would say, yeah, what you to go off of what you said, empathy. In order to win in business, both sides, both companies have to win. That's everybody knows that. Getting to yes, win-win.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody gets everything they want, but everybody gets what they need. You
Right.
know, that's a negotiation. Um, but you have to understand people and what motivates them, and that drives and you know it. In 2018, I decided to start. I've been spending my life reading horror novels. I mean, by the time I was 8 years old, I'd read Edgar Allan Poe, H.P. Lovecraft, H.G. Wells, Jules Verne, you name it. I'd read it all by the age of 8,
Wow.
and I was pretty jaded at that point. And it wasn't until 1974, when I was 11 years old, that's when Stephen King
Okay.
came on the scene, published his first novel, and I've been I read everything. If he published his grocery list, I would buy it and read it. The guy can turn a sandwich into a banquet with words, and Neil Gaiman, and there's other contemporary authors that I read everything they write because it's all just so delicious, you know. But I felt like I could do better than a lot of what I was reading. I wanted to entertain myself, uh, and I self-published in 2018 my first horror novel, and you know, put it on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and whatnot, and people buy it, and they give me 5-star reviews with that. So then I found a publisher, and I wrote that first one was clean. It was
Mm-hmm.
middle grade. You know, you could have your son could read it.
You were
There's no,
learning. You know what I
yeah.
mean? You
Well, no,
don't do this for a living.
no. I wanted it to be consumable by young people
Right.
of any age, and that's what they call middle grade.
Okay.
Okay, so no profanity, no sex, no triggers,
Okay.
but still scary. So I did that, and then I decided, you know, I found a publisher really liked a manuscript I sent, and sent me a contract, and that's right now in you know, 2 months out. They're designing the cover, doing the copy editing. But it's going to hit bookshelves. It's not Amazon. It's not self-publishing. It's the real deal. It's
That's
going to hit.
awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be out there on the same shelf as Stephen King, a few letters to the right. Because my last name is Minster, and you know, last I checked, M comes after K, very
Yeah.
closely, though, very closely. So there, I'm going to be right next to the master, right?
That's so awesome. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, no, it's cool. But to your point, I had to spend a lifetime understanding people before I could write interesting characters. It's all about the characters. You have to be fascinated by them. And my recommendation to all people, I don't care what kind of household you were raised in, start reading everything that's out there. The Quran, the Holy Quran of Islam, the Holy Bible, the New Testament, the Old Testament, the books of Buddhism, Siddhartha Gautama and what grew out of that. How are you going to seek the Sikh manual for a living? How are you going to understand what lies at people's cores
Yep.
if you don't start there? Because
Yep.
that is at their core.
That's right.
Born, live, die, what happens after. That's at their core. So I say this to everyone: read up. Don't be scared.
Right.
It's not going to, let's say you're a devout Jew. If you read the New Testament, don't be scared. It's not necessarily going to convert you.
Right.
Or if you're a Christian, don't fear reading the Quran. It helps you understand why people do what they do.
Absolutely.
And how can you write about characters and what motivates them and whatnot unless you know? And how can you do business?
Right.
Always try to figure out what the other person really wants and needs.
Right.
And give it to them.
Right.
Give it to them.
We don't
Life
have
would be
to
so
be
great.
jerks. I know. Why do we all think we have to be jerks with this stuff? Like, I love that you brought that up, because I swear to our viewers and listeners, I just talked about this topic in a lift when I was in Boston, because we got into a lift with a Buddhist. And the reason why I knew that was because he had a Buddha on his dashboard. Really nice. It was a really nice car. It was very elegant on there. So I ask, I don't assume, because I have Buddhist statues in my home. I'm not a Buddhist. I would never be offended if someone thought I was. That's fine with me. So I asked, and sure enough, he was a Buddhist. And so we started talking about language. And I told him, I said, I read all these different books of the Lord, or as it related to the God or goddess or whatever the religion was that they fall back on. I read all this stuff starting when I was like 25 until I moved to California. I was reading and reading and reading and reading and reading. I was also trying to figure out where I lied, because I grew up Roman Catholic, and I didn't, at that time, with the priest and, not the priest, I'm sorry, the Pope in charge, I didn't really relate to that. Now it's different. We have Francis, right? But we didn't before. And I'm a obviously strong, opinionated woman. And I have questions. And so that's when I finally found the Baha'i faith through Farhad, who you know very well.
Yeah.
And that's how I became Baha'i. So I talked to him, this gentleman, about this, all this. And I talked about how much there's certain aspects of the Buddhist religion that I appreciate and respect. And I know where you're coming from as a Buddhist. But you're right, Jack. Not enough people do that. They get fearful, like, oh, they might try to convert me. It's like the Baha'i religion. People ask me all the time, what does that mean? Even the guy in the lift, he goes, well, I don't understand what that is. When did that start? I said the 1900s. It's not very old. And then I explained like how it works. The democratic state of, our holy land is in Haifa, just like everybody else. We have beautiful gardens.
Right. It defines people, like Sikh.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you see these people with the blue turbans and the long beards and why? I mean, people confuse them with Muslims because in the faith of Islam, a man grows a full beard, but Sikh is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only a couple of 100 years old. And it's amazing, to read about it and why, what started it, what founded it, So again, people don't, I guess they're bored. They don't want to do research. They don't want to read history. But if you want to be in the people business, and business is people, I would say try your hardest to understand people. And to do that, read up, do your research.
I think that's I think that's a great lesson. And, we're at the end of our time already. It goes by so fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. No, I really appreciate talking to you anytime. And thank you for having me.
No, thank you for coming on. And after you launch your book, your new book, which I'm excited for your launch, I have to come to one of your book signings. I'm being serious when you have one.
Yeah, we'll
have to have you back on again, because it would be cool then to discuss what you learned in this process, right? Because I'm as you know, I'm writing a book for, my trilogy of my life, at least functional relationships, or dysfunctional as they were. And I'm not done yet. I've got a little bit more to do, and then I'll pass, and it'll go to the next stage. So I even for myself, I'd like to learn, because this is not something I know. Like, what do I know about that? And also, we'll have to put you in the DiArc, the e-magazine, once you're ready, with all of your graphics and about your book. And we could do an interview about your book with my publisher, so that it helps give you some legs, because at the end of the day, you help give me legs in my career multiple times. You've introduced me to people and, tried to extend a helping hand. So that's what we do.
Yep. No, I think God makes us strong for a little while to help each other. That's why we're here.
You're absolutely right. And I feel like God puts people in our path on purpose. It's for us to learn.
Oh, yes. Most definitely. If people would just turn it all over to God, they'd be hooked up with the right people, not the wrong people.
That's right. Listening to the weird things that they're hearing out there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jack, for joining me today.
Thank you, Christina.
Greatly appreciated it. Sorry. And as we always say in every podcast at the end, remember, we are the same. I am Christina DiArcangelo. Thank you.